All right, guys, well, here we are. We have made it to Newport Beach, McLaren. It's a very exciting day because we're not only seeing the 750S debut out here in California, but also we're getting the unreal opportunity to actually interview and talk with the CEO of McLaren. Michael, it's great to see you. Thank you so much. How are you liking your trip out here to California so far?
Fantastic. Look at the weather, and opening a dealership is always very important for us.
Definitely for this car right here, the latest McLaren coming out. If you don't mind, I'd love to do a walk around of the vehicle to ask you some questions that I've been wondering about the car. Does that sound good with you?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good.
Well,
perfect.
Before I do that right away, I know with the unveil, the video you guys made, very good video by the way, the team kept saying how this is the new benchmark supercar. Can I ask, what were some of the engineering goals that went into creating the benchmark supercar above like the 720S?
Although it was already 6 years in the market, was a benchmark performance-wise, best performance, best power to weight ratio. So what we tried to do here is to increase or to improve these attributes again. We wanted to create more performance, but at the same time make this car more nimble, more responsive, which is fantastic. We can talk about that later. And another very important attribute we wanted to create is engagement, emotionality of the car, and if you drive this car and you hear the sound, it's fantastic.
That's awesome. And speaking of like the emotion and stuff, I also remember hearing the engineers are talking about how they wanted to incorporate the fun factor of a 765 LT with the accessibility of a 720S.
Yeah.
So is that what you're referring to?
Absolutely. So on the one hand side, you can go hard with this car. You can have, again, responsiveness and this emotionality, but you can use this car every day. So really the comfort is fantastic. You can ride on the roads, or you can enjoy it. And emotionality is very important, not only if you go to the limit, also if you go in town to make some shopping or you visit friends, even if you go with 3,000 RPM, has to be fun.
So it's got the versatility and the high-speed performance. It's a level up above the 720S. One other thing too, speaking about that, I know purity is a very important thing with McLaren, and you see that with like the steering feel, for example. I love the steering feedback of my 600 LT in comparison. So all these elements are basically blending together to create this model.
Yeah, absolutely. And purity for us is that there's a real connection between, let me say, racing DNA and a road car. And what you mentioned, like the steering, this is particularly and very unique that you have this still hydraulic steering, which is the best feeling for the car. We have tightened the steering here to have a, again, more reactive car. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you have the suspension that has a new damper concept, new setup for that. We have a shorter gearbox to have better acceleration. So I call it a little bit like go-kart feeling. Every action you take as a driver on the car has to lead to a direct reaction of the car, gear shifts, whatever it is, everything has to be direct and responsive.
I always say that about my car, my 600 LT, and I can't wait personally. I have one of these in order, and I've got the entire track build with it, the louvers, the roll bar out back, the center seats.
Good.
So even though it's not a long tail, it's not any less like track capable, right? You can still take it to the track, push the limits. Can do it all.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, again, this is pure, right? So this is really derived by racing DNA, and you can go on a track and you can be really, really fast.
That's what I was looking for, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm noticing how with the new redesigned front bumper, there's way more of the body color extending all the way down to the front lip in the middle. Was there anything that inspired this design for the team?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something to give the car more elegance, to fulfill all the requirements we have from the thermal and from the aerodynamics, not only here in the splitter area, but it's also, if you look, this is a little bit narrower than on the 720. But anyway, obviously cooling is very important. We have more horsepower, so we have to cool more. And the same then in this area where we have optimized the airflow to get the best downforce, the best drag, and the best thermal cooling for the car.
Speaking of downforce, I know the team mentioned this has got more downforce than a 720, and specifically 5% more, and the focus is more on the balance. Can you talk more on that? Like, how will this feel versus like a 720?
Because it's very important. I mean, you can create downforce, but if it's not balanced, you can't use that. Okay, so if you go fast and hard on curves, for example. You want to have a good balance if you bend and if you steer into the curve. And this is very important. Therefore, we worked a lot on the front also. And if you look at the rear spoiler, you can see that we can create a lot more downforce. Creating that in the front is more difficult because you don't have easy way to gain it. You have to integrate it very well in the body.
Fully understand that. And I love how you can get the louvers. I optioned that for my car above the front fenders. But I did want to talk about the latest generation, the proactive chassis control hydraulic suspension. So this has got the third generation, correct?
This is a third generation, which is using a new hydraulic system, which allows us to be, on the one hand side, much stiffer and more rigid if you want to go sporty, and for example, like you said, on the track. On the other hand, on the other hand, if you go in comfort, it allows you a lot of comfort and riding.
So it takes everything from the 720S and makes it even better, right?
Yeah.
I know that, so the rear springs are stiffer, right? And also the front, it's softer to a degree, right? Is that just to help balance out with the downforce?
That's again a balance issue, and to have a more homogeneous behavior if you go about bumpers and so on, that it's really good balance, not only from, let me say, performance setup, but also from a comfort setup.
I did want to ask you too, Michael, I know that this car has significant weight savings over the 720S. I'm going to say the American metric, 66 pounds. Can you give me some ideas on where the team found those weight savings?
So one, definitely super important, our alloy wheels with a new design, more to the edge to save weight, and then a lot of carbon fiber parts, most important in the rear. And look at the spoiler, which is not only aerodynamically very efficient, but also from weight perspective.
Looking at it dimension-wise, I know it's 20% larger than a 720. It looks very similar to like the 765 LT. Is this a similar type of unit, would you say?
Yeah, but it's not the same, and it's modified and tweaked for this car.
Really?
So the flow on this car.
So Michael, I know that this car has 750 PS. Can I ask what type of engine upgrades allowed for the team to achieve that horsepower?
Yeah, we worked a lot on the details on this engine, so the pistons, the gaskets, we optimized the valve train, so everything around the combustion we optimized to get out 30 horsepower more.
Really? Then also having more horsepower, obviously, you're dealing with more heat, so how important was the cooling factor?
This is really on the edge, so this is difficult to manage, and you see how open all this is. This is something which is for reliability very important to have a good cooling on the engine bay.
Then one part I do love about when I'm getting mine too, I got the black finish on the center X exhaust.
And I like it because it's the visual part of the engine, of the powertrain. It's important for the power output, but also for the sound. It was one of the main elements to optimize the sound. The waves that are coming out here from this are very close and are adding each other to a good sound.
I heard that the team like acoustically tuned it too, right? To give you a better sound.
This is part of that.
Really?
So the sound design and the acoustic optimization of the engine sound.
I would love to hop inside with you to go over like the interior technology upgrades. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Opens the same way as the 720S, I presume, right?
Yes.
Here we go.
All the same.
Yeah, I cannot wait again. I got the full center seat build. I got the roll bar out back, and I'll be using this thing as intended, but closing it up. It's familiar yet different, but right away you notice, I think it's called the binnacle, right?
Yeah, it's called the binnacle, and this is a new concept, a driver-oriented cockpit. So you see, if you change the position of the steering wheel, the cluster is moving, so you have always the best view on the cluster. And very important, you can change here the setup of the car. On the right hand side you have the powertrain. You can change from comfort to sport and then track, and the same you have here for the handling, where you can go again from comfort over sport to track.
I believe you can save those settings too now, right? There's a new button for that?
Yeah, exactly. Look here.
That
so
right there.
This is a McLaren button. This is fantastic. So you can save your individual setups. So whatever you choose here with track and comfort or whatever you want to have, so you don't have to change anymore. You only push a button and then you are in the mode where you want to be. Also combined with the arrows, so if you want to
Really?
lift the air brake, you can integrate that
Save
in your
that setting.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I'm curious actually, seeing how this display is fixed with the column itself, does that possibly save any weight, do you think, over like the folding unit in the 720?
Regarding the 720 folding unit, definitely, it's lighter, but it's also, we think this is, from the economic point of view, it's the best thing to have.
I've been seeing this display unit in other models like the Elva, right, the Artura. Is this part of like a new next generation design language?
Yeah, this is what we think is the best to do for having the best driver orientation, and that's the reason why we choose that, and we introduce that now model by model to have this feature on our cars.
And you also have a new next generation center infotainment screen, right?
Absolutely.
It would be cool if we can start the car, see what it sounds like. Can we do it?
Let's do that, and let's look at the sound audio
Oh,
system
wow.
of this. So I think this is quite good, and if you drive it, it's even better.
Quite good, for sure. I can't wait to hear how those gear changes will sound when you're driving. The downshifts are always so much fun. I do want to ask you about quality, because I'm like, well, personally with my McLaren, I've had no problems with it, but you do hear people talk about that here and there. And I know that you are very proactive when it comes to maintaining top quality for vehicles. How important is that with like the 750S?
I think this is super important, and we have enhanced this program again to ensure a really good and perfect customer experience.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work we have done and put into it, and we hope our customers will appreciate that.
Could this be one of the last all internal combustion engine McLarens that we're seeing? Because I know more and more hybrids are coming out throughout the spectrum.
So yes, this is a pure IC version, and there's still a big demand for pure internal combustion engines, and we are happy about that. Obviously, we are also following the road to more electrification. For us, for supercars today, is the best way to do that is hybridization. That's the reason why we have a new hybrid system on the Artura.
Yeah, yeah.
And we think that pure EVs today, the technology is not mature for that. Too much weight. Lightweight is the most important thing for a supercar and for us as a supercar maker.
Makes me love McLarens, how lightweight they are.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about this car, you mentioned it before, it's more than 600 pounds lighter than the best competitor in the segment. And I mean, this is for a supercar super important, and we don't want to lose our DNA. So therefore, we are pointing on IC and hybridization.
Well, thank you so much again. I'll do like a left-handed fist pump with you. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I can't wait to get mine, and I can't wait because I'll be coming out for Goodwood. So it'd be cool to check all the McLarens. But thank you again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.